Station 21, the statue of Saint Joseph. When you look at the statue, you'll notice a few things right away. First is the many fleurs-de-lis decorating the top of the arch. This symbolizes purity and chastity, which are virtues associated with Saint Joseph, who, even though he was married to Mary, did not have children with her. Second are the letters SJ above him, short for Sanctus Josephus, Latin for Saint Joseph. Third and last is Joseph holding a staff with blooming lilies. You will find this detail in both the stained glass of the betrothal and the life of Saint Joseph. This is because there are some fascinating stories behind the symbolism of that staff. First, it comes from an ancient text called the Proto-Evangelium of James. According to this manuscript, Mary had been raised in the temple, dedicated to God. When she came of age, the priests sought a guardian husband for her, not to bear children with her, but to protect her. So they gathered the staffs of all the eligible men and placed them outside the temple while they prayed inside. When they came out and each man collected his own staff, a dove emerged from the rod of Saint Joseph and flew above his head. Second, in the book of Numbers, we read of a time when Moses wanted to know whom God had chosen as high priest. The staffs of the tribal leaders were placed before God, and the next day, Aaron's staff blossomed and bore ripe almonds, a clear sign he was the chosen one. Third, in the book of Hosea, it says, "The just man shall blossom like the lily." And in the Gospel of Matthew, Joseph is called a just man. And so a blossoming lily is associated with Joseph. Over the centuries, by putting these three stories together, artists began to depict Saint Joseph holding a staff with blossoming lilies, not just to signify his purity, but also to remind us that he was chosen. The color of Saint Joseph's clothes is also steeped with symbolism. His green outer garment stands for obedience and devotion. His brown robe symbolizes humility and poverty. We know the Holy Family was poor because when they presented Jesus at the temple, they brought 2 birds. The law, however, required a bird and a lamb, but it also allowed the poor to bring 2 birds instead. And here's the beautiful twist. They actually did bring a lamb, the Lamb of God, Jesus himself. Even in their simplicity, they offered the greatest gift. We are now done with this transept and we'll move to the next area where we'll find our next station. Walk toward the opposite transept, but be ready to stop just before crossing the altar. What you're looking for is a dais, which is something like a small stage on the left side of the altar. In that dais is an armchair under a canopy. That is our next station. You can pause the audio here and press play when you're ready.